my name's Emily Harvey, and I'm the owner and designer at MCAT Design here in Memphis. My story for you tonight begins with my ex-boyfriend's death in May of 2015. He was only 26 when he died of an accidental heroin overdose. I had no idea that he was addicted to heroin. For months afterwards, I researched different ways to cope with my grief. I heard a story on This American Life about a man in Japan who built a phone booth in his garden after his cousin passed away. It was called the Phone of the Wind. Afterwards, there was a tsunami that devastated a town nearby, and thousands of people came to the phone booth in order to feel connected to their lost loved ones. Right after I heard this story, I immediately searched Memphis Craigslist for a phone booth. These are the photos that I found. I knew that it was my booth. Right afterwards, I contacted my church, St. John's United Methodist here in Midtown, and they graciously allowed me to put it in their community garden. Now, the Phone of the Spirit is a public place where people can go to grieve, meditate, pray, and say things that are left unsaid after a tragic loss. We also hold community events like candlelight vigils and Overdose Awareness Day. Now I'd like to share with y'all some statistics to put the opioid epidemic into perspective. Over 64,000 Americans died from a heroin overdose or drug overdose in 2016, and approximately 75% of all drug overdoses are now caused by opioids. This includes prescription painkillers, heroin, and potent synthetic versions like fentanyl and carfentanil. More Americans died in 2016 from a drug overdose than the number of American lives lost in the entirety of the Vietnam War. Let that sink in for a second, that more people are dying every year from opioid overdose than an entire war. So y'all are probably thinking, okay, so what do we do now? So I've laid out 5 ways that we as the Memphis community can fight the opioid epidemic and stop the cycle of addiction and overdose. So number 1, don't be an accidental drug dealer. Do not share your prescription drugs with your friend and family. 54% of addicts started in their friends' or family's medicine cabinets. Prescription drugs can be just as dangerous as illicit drugs if not taken properly. So if your friend offers you their pills, this is a great time to say no and tell them why sharing prescription drugs is dangerous. Number 2, count it, lock it, drop it. Count your pills to make sure that no one else is taking them. You can protect your friends and family members by storing your prescription drugs in a lockbox. You can drop off your unused and expired prescription drugs at drop boxes located at the sheriff's office, police station, and at any Walgreens in Shelby County. You can find more Dropbox locations at countitlockitdropit.org. Number 3, refuse opioids at the doctor's office. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, Tennessee is second in the nation for opioid prescribing. Of course, opioids have their place in hospital situations and after large surgeries, but you always have the right to ask your doctor for non-habit-forming drugs. This is especially important if you have a family history of addiction or alcoholism, because that puts you more at risk for opioid addiction. Number 4, do not hesitate if your friend is overdosing. Immediately call for help because every second counts during an overdose. The Good Samaritan law protects you from arrest if there are drugs at the scene. Number 5, recovery is possible. I posted in a Facebook group called Memphis War on Heroin, which has almost 4,000 members, and asked for people in recovery's favorite photo of themselves. And these are the pictures that I received. If these beautiful people can recover from opioid addiction, then so can you or your friend or family member. So thank y'all for letting me share my story tonight. And please remember to go see the Phone of the Spirit. And Share it with your friends and family, especially if they've lost someone. So here are some ways that you can stay connected. Thank you.